Hey everyone, hopefully everybody can hear me. I hear the mic. Hopefully you guys can hear me in there as well. Drop a rabbit on the chat if you guys can hear me. I just want to double check. Shout out to everybody that's here. I see everybody. Kimmy, Bo, Pika, Vic, Liz. Who else? Welcome, welcome. Hey Nettie, welcome. Liz is in the house. B Tim. I don't sleep. I don't sleep. Even when I'm still sick, yo. I'm still sick and I'm still working. Okay. Thank you. Oh, well, welcome. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for being here. Cheeks, welcome. Welcome to the shit show, Kristen. I like your name. Your name is funny. Sarah, Silva, Lori, my beautiful members are in the house. Kimmy's in the house. Sweet Jules is in the house. Tia, how you doing, love? It's been a minute. Who else? I'm still. Hey, Sarah and Lana, welcome. Everybody, welcome. I'm just trying to see who else is in the house. And then B Tim was here as well. SW, I see you, Emily. I see Emily. Um, Chico, thank you for being here, everybody. I'm checking my other device. That's why I'm looking down. Okay, welcome everybody. For the most part, Deborah, welcome. Thank you for being here. Um, I do work a lot. No rest for the week. That's right. That's right. Resting is for other people but me. I do, I should do a better job of like self-care, but you're absolutely right. I need to rest. Stacy, welcome. All right. So we got about 80 people so far and we just started. I want to lay some ground rules real quick. And I say this because um, I want to be very clear about what this live is about. A lot of us, like myself, and some of you guys are in the chat, are maybe late to this Karen Reed case. And so I thought it would be helpful to, at the very least, read the PCA, the probable cause affidavit, and look into maybe what is in there that's been written that we can look at and say, it's been written and it's there. If it's for us to review and to consume. I'm not here to decide guilt or innocence quite yet, although that is the question of the hour. Everybody wants us to decide where we land. Okay. I'm not there yet. This live is not about Turtle Boy. I talked about Turtle Boy a little bit yesterday. If you guys wanted to check out yesterday's video, check it out. I'm sure he will come up a couple times because he's been, very a shaker and a mover to this situation, right? But truly, this isn't about Turtle Boy today. This is about the PCA. Okay, so I kind of want us to keep it there. Um, yeah, I think so. Some of us, I appreciate you. Some of us are late to this. There's another creator that I want to play his video because listen, hands down. If I have a lot of true crime favorite creators, but this one right here, he did a really short video on the Karen Reed case, and it's that chapter. And I've always appreciated, like, before I was a YouTuber, way before I was really like, I had a YouTube account. I was just a subscriber. He was one that I would always have on replay. That what is it? That chapter was like my number one go-to, and I would always wait for his uploads. He did a breakdown on this about 2 months ago, and I thought it was very informative. Yeah, he's great. I like him. I especially love the fact um, that he's like 22 minutes. Yes, thank you, BT. And some of us are waiting for the trial. You have a long time to catch up to the trial. Won't be until March 2024. So we do have a long time. It's an awesome channel, right? And that's one thing I think a lot of people can agree with. But I love how he what is it does he just has a sense of humor about him that I think I appreciate, and I'm pretty sure that this will probably be a very small group of us, which is fine. You guys, I recommend you guys watch. The only thing that I would say that Mike uh, got wrong, if I were to, there was one thing that stood out to me that I was like, I don't know if he got this right, but yes, I'll do that. Hold up. I might have to wait until afterwards, but it's literally the bizarre case of Karen Reed. I'm gonna put it in the chat because if I navigate to another window and I have a dual screen, it's gonna kick me out and I'm gonna have to go back. I know Mike has like the best accent, right? That is the link to his video. There was one part that I didn't really. I felt like Mike got wrong, and this could have been an honest mistake. But when I read the documents, and I've been rereading these documents, who found who was the person that found John O'Keefe's body in the snow? And based on what I've read, it was Karen Reed. It was not Jennifer McCabe or anything. It was Karen Reed. And I guess this will kind of help us. Who was the first person that saw the body in the snow? That's really what it was Karen, right? That surprise, not, excuse me, not that surprise witness. That chapter, my bad, wrong channel. Shout out to BJ. That chapter said that I believe it was Jennifer McCabe, and that's wrong. That's wrong. So hopefully, I don't know if he knows that. Maybe that's the correction that needs to be made because that's the common factor on all these documents that I've read. That she was the one who found the body while she was driving. But yes, okay. I got my drink. My voice is going to go in and out, of course, but let me start right here. Let's start with this one, with this document. So this is the application and probable cause. You guys are going to find all these documents on that. Okay, Mama, on that Excel sheet. That Excel sheet is located in the the link is in the description box. You guys can check it out. Check it out over there. Okay, let's start by reading, and I'm looking at the other screen just so you guys are aware. So the first paragraph starts with Michael Proctor's background, state police officer, his expertise, typical, who the officer that's writing this. It starts by saying, based on upon information contained in the numbered paragraphs below, which are the product of my own investigation, my own discussions with Massachusetts State Trooper and officers, with the Canton Police Department involved in the investigation, I submit that I have probable cause for an arrest warrant to be issued for Karen Reed. I believe that the evidence of the crime of manslaughter, a violation of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 265, Section 13, all the penal codes are there and whatnot, leaving the scene of the accident resulting in death, a violation of the Massachusetts General Law, exists and seeks an arrest warrant for Reed. January 29th of 2022 at approximately 6:04 a.m., Canton police received a 911 call from a woman reporting a male, John O'Keefe, found in the snow at 34 Fairview Road. At that time of the 911 call, there was heavy snow and the temperature was in the teens. Officers Safar and Mulaney were dispatched to the scenes, along with Canton Fire and EMS. Officer Safar arrived on scene and observed three females waving at him. Looking at 34 Fairview from the roadway, the three females were in the left corner of the property. Officers observed the victim lying on the ground as two of the females were performing CPR. The three females on scene were identified by Canton PD as Karen Reed, Jennifer McCabe, Carrie Roberts. Officer Safar observed the victim to be cold to the touch, not breathing, and returned to his cruiser and retrieved his AED device. At this time, Canton Fire EMS arrived on scene and took over, first aid. Paramedics transported O'Keefe to the Good Samaritan Hospital. O'Keefe was determined to be deceased several hours later by Dr. Justin Rice. Lieutenant Paul Gallagher and Detective, Michael Lank and Sergeant Sean Good arrived on the scene moments after the 911 call. After the victim was transported to the Good Samaritan Hospital, Lieutenant Gallagher and Sergeant Lank and Sergeant Good began to search for any evidence. They discovered a broken cocktail-style glass and multiple patches of red that appeared to be blood in the vicinity of the victim. Canton officers secured the glass and 6 blood samples as evidence. So they discovered a broken cocktail style glass. Okay. Let me stop. You notice that? I'm petty. I'm petty. Hope you guys know this is my new title. I in real life I do have a bachelor's in of science in criminology. That could I can be a rabbit profiler. F what you heard, I can be a rabbit profiler. I could. I might have not worked with the FBI. I did work in government. I've done long side work with FBI, but that was in social work. But I do have my BS in criminology. I know a thing or two about criminology. I'm gonna change my channel name. I hope you guys know. I truly am. Anyways, let me stop. I'm trying to be serious. Why you guys gotta make me laugh? Hold up, y'all. Sorry, you guys. It's a bachelor's of science. That's what I have. Okay. And I like how you sweep your drink when you said you worked in government. LOL. All right, let me stop. So, paragraph, y'all make me laugh and made me lose my train of thought. All right, so here we go. They discovered a broken cocktail style glass and multiple patches of red that appeared to be blood in the vicinity of the victim. Canton officers secured the glass and 6 blood samples as evidence. So I was wondering about that too, but just note that that's what was found. Sorry, you guys. On January 29, 2022, at approximately 11:30 a.m., the sergeant and I requested to speak with Jennifer McCabe, okay, and her husband Matthew. Both agreed to speak with us. Hold up, y'all. Sorry, y'all. I requested to speak with Jennifer McCabe and her husband Matthew. Both agreed to speak with us. We first spoke with Jennifer, who stated her and some friends were at the Waterfall Bar last night in Canton. Jennifer stated her and Matthew arrived at the Waterfall Bar at approximately 9 p.m. At approximately 11 p.m., John and Karen arrived at the Waterfall Bar together. John and Karen had been in a dating relationship for 2 years, and Karen stays at John's house most nights. Jennifer observed Karen walk into the bar holding a glass cup from the, what is it, CF McCarthy's with the clear liquid inside, which she believed to be a vodka, excuse me, soda drink, a vodka soda drink. Jennifer observed John wearing a baseball hat, jeans, and sneakers. John and Karen were at the bar across the street before going to the Waterfall Bar. Jennifer stated that John and Karen appeared to be in a good mood and did not observe any arguing amongst the two. Jennifer described the atmosphere inside of the bar as friendly, and there was no arguments amongst any patrons. As the bar began to close down, everyone was invited back to 34 Fairview Road, the after party. Keep that in mind. Jennifer observed Karen and John leave Waterfall Bar together. As the group was exiting the bar, John texted Jennifer, "Where to?" at 12:14 a.m. Jennifer replied with the address 34 Fairview Road. At 12:18 a.m., John called Jennifer to ask where the house was located on Fairview Road. While inside the residence, Jennifer observed a black SUV arrived in front of 34 Fairview Road from the front door. Jennifer texted John at 12:31 a.m., "Hello," and at 12:40 a.m. texted, "Pull up behind me." Jennifer observed the black SUV move from the initial place The vehicle stopped at the street near the driveway and then proceeded to the left side of the property. At 12:45 a.m., Jennifer texted John, "Hello," and then observed the black SUV drive away. Jennifer stated they discovered John in the area where she last observed the SUV, the left side of the property. At approximately 4:53 a.m., Jennifer received a phone call from Karen looking for John. Karen was distraught and drove over to Jennifer's house. Karen told Jennifer she last remembered seeing John at the Waterfall Bar. Jennifer informed Karen she observed John and her leave the bar together. Jennifer drove Karen's vehicle from her house back to John's because Karen was too hysterical to drive and had Carrie Roberts follow them. While driving to John's house, Karen stated to Jennifer, "Could I have hit him? Did I hit him?" Jennifer and Jennifer stated Karen told her about a cracked tail light on her vehicle. Once they arrived at John's house, Karen had Jennifer look at the cracked tail light. Jennifer described the passenger side right rear tail light as cracked. Jennifer and Karen entered Carrie's vehicle to look for John. Karen was seated in the back as Carrie drove, and Jennifer was seated in the front passenger seat. Jennifer stated they turned onto Fairview Road from Chapman Street. At that time, it was snowing heavily, creating poor visibility. Jennifer stated just prior to the 34 Fairview Road, there was a cluster of trees. Immediately, Karen stated she saw John. Jennifer and Carrie were not able to see John and initially confused by Karen's statement. Jennifer stated Carrie began wiping off of John. Wait, let me read that again. Jennifer stated Carrie began wiping snow off of John as Karen laid on top of him for warmth and then began CPR. So this is paragraph 5. Again, the link for those that want to follow along is in the description box. You guys can check it out there. Based on this right here, I'm just going to tell you my initial thoughts, which were the thoughts of yesterday. Was this a horrible accident? Like, what was this exactly? You know what I'm saying? It kind of tripped me out. And let me see what everybody's saying in the chat. Um, let's see. Hold up, y'all. Bunny has many talents. Yes. That's kind of where my thought was at. Is like, was this just a really bad accident? Like, what had happened here? That's kind of where I was at. But let me see. Hold up. That initially, right? Cheyenne, because that's what I thought. It was like, was this just a horrible accident based on the lengthy paragraph on number 5? That's how I read it. That's not Roxy, but this is what the affidavit is. This is the what is the affidavit, the PCA. When I read this, I was like, this is a horrible accident, right? And maybe subconsciously, like, let's just say Jennifer's, because here's my struggle with this whole thing. If this is truly a frame job, can you honestly believe anything that's written in this document? Like, see, that was my question. And this is another officer that somehow is in the mix of all this stuff. What is his name? It's up here. Michael D. Proctor. So, what if this is a frame job? Can you really take anything that's being put on this document of any value? His arm looks to me like it was tied, like a tire could have caused that. And all these officers were drinking, right? I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering. Hold up. I can wait for the state to comment on those internet searches. Amy, I dated a cop and that's all he did. Whew. But I would have to agree with Amy. It's like all these cops are drinking. Everybody's drinking. I mean, they can drink, but they're drinking and driving. Keep that in mind. People are drinking and driving and going places. Clearly, these cops don't even made me wonder this, you know? Um, let's go back to the document. So the sergeant and I arrived at Good Samaritan Hospital to view the victim. I observed approximately 6 bloodied lacerations varying in length on O'Keefe's right arm. The cuts extended from his forearm to his bicep. Both of the victim's eyes were swollen shut and black and blue. I observed a cut to the right eyelid area of the victim. The victim's clothing, blue jeans and orange t-shirt, long sleeve shirt, and boxer shorts were saturated and contained blood and vomit. So it was saturated in blood and vomit. Whose vomit? His vomit? I observed one black Nike sneaker with a white like Nike logo on the side belonging to the victim on January 31st of 2022. Doctor, I think it's Bello, from the Office of the Chief Medical Examiners in Mass V conducted the autopsy of John O'Keefe. Dr. Bello advised of several abrasions to the right forearm, 2 swollen black eyes, a small cut above the right eye, cut to the left side of the nose, approximately 2-inch laceration to the back of the head, multiple skull fractures, and that resulted in bleeding. Dr. Bello advised the victim's pancreas was dark red color, and I can't read that because they got the watermark right there. Um, Dark red color indicating hypothermia was a contributing factor. So several hours outside, right? Ooh. So the head trauma could have caused that. Could have caused what, B Tim? He could have stepped outside for a smoke and a drunk driver could have hit him. Doesn't explain the head wound though, right? Drinking in heavy snow, nonetheless, right? And yeah, and buying drinks for other drivers, right? Everybody was drinking. Like there is no DUIs for cops here, I guess. I don't know. I'm just saying. Um, hold up, let me see what you guys say. Head trauma could have caused the black eyes and the vomiting. Ooh. Like the head trauma could have, yeah, I mean that's a good point too. Huh. Where did his other shoe and ball cap go? Raccoon eyes medically. That's a good question. Um, They didn't say actually, like where they were located. Wait, they talked about the Nike shoe. Hold up. The victim's clothing, blue jeans, orange t-shirt, long sleeve, boxer shorts were saturated and contained blood and vomit. I observed one black Nike sneaker with the white logo on the side belonging to the victim. Where see, that's the thing though, MJ, is like he was last seen wearing his clothes, right? Where were his clothes still on him? Right? Boho says, "Keep reading." I will. I'm discovering with everybody. See, because Boho, I'm not the only one. My name is Rabbit, the criminal profiler. Okay, we are analyzing this case. We are. We are reading the PSA. All right. They don't call me the criminal profiler for nothing. Okay, let me keep reading. So, paragraph 7. We just read paragraph 6. On January 29th of 2022, at approximately 12:15 p.m., the sergeant and I conducted the interview of Matthew McCabe. Matthew stated he has known John for approximately 8 years and met Karen a handful of times. Matthew stated he was at the Waterfall Bar on Saturday night and observed John and Karen enter. Matthew observed John wearing a baseball hat with a curved visor and Karen drinking a clear liquid drink, possibly vodka. Hmm. It's interesting how Jennifer and Matt's story matches. I mean, they could have been together, but it's very like, the drink, a clear drink. They both observed that it was a clear. I don't pay attention to shit like that. I'd have been like he was having a drink. I don't know what the drink was, but it's an interesting observation to say that they both noticed a clear liquid, possibly vodka. Um, I'm doing good. Let's keep reading. Matthew stated everyone was going to 34 Fairview Road from the bar. Matthew entered his vehicle, and his wife, Jennifer, was on the phone with John telling him to go to 34 Fairview Road. While at the Fairview residence, one sec, Matthew observed a large dark SUV pull up on the street. Matthew was looking out the front door and described the SUV initially parked in front of the house. Matthew looked out a window and observed the same vehicle had moved towards the right side of the property. From Matthew's vantage point, inside and through the front door, the vehicle was to his right or left of the property if looking at the house from the street. Matthew's last sighting of the vehicle on Fairview Road was in the area of where the victim was discovered. Hmm. On January 29th of 2022 at 5:25 p.m., Trooper Matthew Dunn, is it Dune or Dunn? Hope I'm saying it right. And David DeSicchio. Let me know if I'm saying these names correctly. I'm gonna call him Matthew D and David D. Conducted the interviews of Carrie Roberts. At approximately 5 a.m., Carrie received a phone call from Karen stating John did not come home. It was snowing and she was worried. Carrie met Karen at Jennifer McCabe's home and observed Karen to be hysterical. Carrie stated that she believed Karen was still intoxicated in the morning and told Carrie she did not remember last night. One sec, guys. Sorry, y'all. I had to. Baby Bunny had to go to different rooms. She's being loud. Um. So this is interesting. Let me go back a little bit. Carrie met Karen at Jennifer McCabe's house and observed Karen to be hysterical. Carrie stated she believed Karen was still intoxicated in the morning and told Carrie she did not remember last night. Karen stated, I was so drunk I don't even remember going to your sister's last night. Jennifer's sister lives at 34 Fairview Road. Carrie followed Karen's black Lexus SUV back to John's house. Carrie drove Jennifer and Karen to 34 Fairview to look for John. Carrie described the weather as white out conditions as they were driving around. As they arrived at 34 Fairview Road, Karen stated, there he is. I see him. From inside the vehicle, Carrie stated only Karen saw John as he was covered in snow and through whiteout conditions. Yeah, Carrie stated only Karen saw John as he was covered in snow and through whiteout conditions. Hmm. Carrie stated after they exited the vehicle, Karen stated, I see him. Carrie was still not able to see John at that point due to the weather conditions. Carrie observed John approximately 12 feet from the drive from the cross, excuse me, from the roadway, saying different things. Lord have mercy. So she observes him 12 feet from the roadway. Swollen right eye with the laceration above it and blood around the nose and mouth. Carrie stated they began CPR and called 911. On February 1st, 2022, Trooper Proctor, spoke with Carrie via phone. Carrie stated January 29th of 2022 at approximately 5 a.m. she was contacted by Karen. Carrie answered the phone to hear Karen state John's dead. Carrie, I wonder if he's dead. It's snowing. He got hit by a plow. I was thinking too, and this is just commentary. I don't know if this is fact, but this is just by reading this. Is like, you know how they said that the hypothermia, could that have also, because he said there was the lacerations I can't explain, but then you also have a broken cocktail thing as well. You know what I'm saying? So the tail light is crazy. There was like blood in the vicinity of where he was at. Yeah, baby bunny. Um, I wonder what the autopsy reports say, right? It's a lot. Let's keep reading. So, Carrie, this part right here throws me off. Carrie answers the phone to Karen, stated, John is dead. Carrie, I wonder if he's dead. So she says, John is dead. And then she goes, Carrie, I wonder if he's dead. It's snowing. He got hit by a plow. On January 29th of 2022 at approximately 4:30 p.m., this is now paragraph 9, Sergeant and I arrived at 34 Country, I think that says, I can't even read that. Country something, Country Road. Dr. Is it Digton, MA? The resident is the home of Karen Reed's parents? Wait, what? Oh, I see what it, I'm sorry. I arrived at 34 Country Drive, excuse me, in Massachusetts. The resident is the home of Karen Reed's parents. Upon arrival, Sergeant and I observed a black Lexus SUV bearing Massachusetts registration. The number's there. The vehicle is registered to Karen Reed. The vehicle was parked outside the driveway, in front of a garage door. We observed the rear right passenger side tail light to be shattered. A large red plastic piece was missing from the tail light. Sergeant and I were invited inside by the homeowners, Karen, and was seated in the living room couch, agreed to speak with us. Karen stated that she met the victim at the McCarthy's bar in Canton at approximately 9 p.m. On January 29th, 2022, the victim was there with several friends prior to Karen's arrival. Karen stated that the victim was consuming beer and she was drinking vodka sodas. Karen described the glassware that she was as drinking out of as a vase style. Vase style. Karen stated her and the victim left the bar and went to the Waterfall bar. Karen stated that she did not leave McCarthy's or enter the Waterfall bar with a glass or drink. Hmm. Karen and the victims were at the waterfall for approximately 1 hour. During that time, there was no altercation or arguments amongst anyone. When Karen and the victim left the waterfall bar, they were invited to a house on Fairview Road. Karen stated she dropped the victim at the house on Fairview and went home since she was having stomach issues at the previous bar. Karen stated that she dropped Karen stated as she dropped the victim off, she made a three-point turn in the street and left. Karen did not see the victim enter the house. Karen told investigators she first observed the broken tail light in the morning and did not know it was broken and did not know how it was broken last night. While at the two bars, Karen stated she did not observe any injuries or cuts on the victim's arms, and that the victim did not suffer any injuries or cuts while at the bars. When Karen discovered the victim in the morning, she observed him lying face up, snow on his legs, eyes swollen, and the blood coming from his nose and mouth. Karen began providing mouth to mouth. Karen attempted to contact the victim throughout the night, calling and texting him numerous times with no response. Karen informed investigators her and the victim were in a verbal argument that morning over what Karen fed the victim's niece for breakfast. Hmm. I need to thank you. I hope I'm not putting everybody to sleep, yo. And I'm not trying to be too loud either. You wouldn't be so, yeah, it's a lot. Car doesn't leave tire tracks on clothing or somewhere else. Well, I'm kind of wondering if, because it was snowing, right? So would the tire tracks would they have been covered to a certain degree? Kind of makes you wonder. Okay, and while I'm reading, can you guys do me a favor and hit the like button, please and thank you. We have like 3 or 4 more pages to go through. Um, so on January 29th at approximately 5:30 p.m., the sergeant and I seized the black Lexus bearing Massachusetts registration from the driveway of the 345 Country Hill Drive. The Diamond Towing transported the vehicle to the Canton Police Department where it was secured in their Sallyport garage. Sergeant and I traveled behind the tow truck from the residence to the Canton Police Department. On February 1st at 9 a.m., members from the Massachusetts State Police Crime Scene Services Collision Analysis Reconstruction Section cars and lab chemists processed the black Lexus bearing the Massachusetts registration. At the Canton Police Department, fragments of broken glass was observed on the rear bumper of the vehicle. The rear right passenger side tail light was shattered and pieces missing from the red and clear area. On the right side of the rear tailgate, a deep scratch and Mere dent was minor dent was observed. Making up words now. On the right side of the rear bumper, above a small red light, 2 scratches were observed, and one area where the paint was chipped off. Troopers from cars performed a rapid acceleration forward and reverse and noticed there was no deficiencies with the braking system. A training figure resembling a human, approximately 6 feet in height, was placed behind the Lexus. The vehicle was operated by members of cars and documented with video by crime scene services. The vehicle was placed in reverse and started to travel towards the training figure. The rear view camera was operating properly, providing a 180-degree visual. As the Lexus traveled closer to the um, figure auditory and visual quest sounds off, indicating an obstruction to the rear. Paragraph 13. On January 29th, 2022, the Massachusetts Special Emergency Response Team, CERT, was activated to assist in searching for potential evidence outside of 34 Fairview Road. When looking at 34 Fairview Road from the street, there was a fire hydrant on the far left of the property. Members from CERT located a black Nike sneaker. Shout out to the person who said keep reading the Nike sneakers mentioned. So they got the team out there, the forensics team, okay? And it was the Massachusetts Special Emergency Response Team. They got out there and they were searching for potential evidence, and that's where they found near the fire hydrant. When looking at 34 Fairview Road from the street, there is a fire hydrant on the far left of the properties. Members from the CERTs located a black Nike sneaker with the white logo along the side. The sneaker located by CERT matches one sneaker the victim was wearing. At the time, he was transported by EMS to the Good Samaritan Hospital. In that same area, 2 plastic pieces of tail lights were discovered, consistent to the missing pieces on Karen Reed's black Lexus SUV. One piece of clear plastic piece of tail light was located in the same area, also consisted with broken light, and I cannot read that. Lexus I think it says light Lexus SUV. From the tail light, the stamp is right over the word, so it makes it kind of hard to read. Based on the information in the paragraph above, witness statements, evidence recovered at the scene, damage to Karen Reed's Lexus SUV, consistent to items located at the scene, the trauma to the victim, and statements made by Reed to her friends, I believe that the crime of manslaughter, a violation of Massachusetts law, reading all the penal codes there, was committed at 34 Fairview Road, Canton. The victim, being identified as John O'Keefe, suffered significant blunt force trauma and bodily injury sustained by him. Proved to be to be substantial in the fact establishing the grounds for an assurance of an arrest warrant of Karen Reed. Sign, sign, sign. This is what the PCA application looks like. Now, this is murder, right? It doesn't look like the house was searched based on what the application says, right? I'm not hearing that they searched the house. Maybe they felt like the crime scene was outside. Am I hearing that correctly? If I am the if I'm Karen Reed, I'm just throwing that out there. If I'm Karen Reed and I'm fighting for my life, you better believe, and I'm saying I'm innocent, okay? Because she's still, she'll have her day in court and whatnot. I'm gonna be pissed if these investigators aren't looking at all these other places. If I'm saying he made it there. Now, are they only arresting her for her initial statements? Because my mind kind of immediately went to, well, maybe this was just a horrible accident. You know, like maybe this is what it was. But when I was watching a little bit of that chapter, and I really liked how he put things into compartments. Now there's more documents, and we'll review most of the other documents. It was kind of weird, um, not being able to look at like what was the inside of the house like. Yeah, no search of the resident, and the crime scene was never taped off. Did he have any body injuries besides the face and the head, the arms, the hands? Um, that's where a lot of the injuries we were looking at. But it's a lot. The people in the house who are cops and longtime friends said John never went in the house. That's what they're saying. But this is a murder investigation, right? I'm just saying, for the sake of the defendant, I would want, if I was Karen Reed, I would want that. And I'm saying I didn't do it. I want everybody's checked. This is my life, right? I would imagine that's what this is. If they didn't do a proper investigation, I have every right to fight for my life.
Argued after night out drinking, and when he got out of the car,
Hold up. Let me stop.
force injury, traumatic injury. Now let's get into the two sides of this twisted story. Let's start with what the state claims.
Which is what we just
The
read.
state's narrative goes like this. Karen and John argued after night out drinking, and when he got out of the car to go into a party at a fellow officer's house, Karen, she lost it. She reversed her SUV, hitting John O'Keefe, killing him, striking him into the snowbank. His body then lay there until it was found hours later.
That is a lot of snow. Can I just say that? That's a lot of fucking snow.
They also allege she was drunk at the time, which she denies.
Could she have been drunk? Did anybody? Let me ask you something. Was anybody checked to see if they were still sober when they found John's body? let's just say, like, if the arriving officers were there and they saw and they waved down the officer, did any of these officers think, well, let me just check some blood levels right now. Let me have these people blow on something right now. The three women that were there, the three people that were in the scene. No, because if they were really intoxicated, don't you think something would have, Karen would have picked up on something? The other people would have picked up on something, right? That's kind of where my mind went. I said, well, did it look like an accident? Like, why didn't they just, you know, do an alcohol check on everybody?
Two Canton police officers, Saraf and Mulaney, they arrived at the address just after 6 a.m. And there they found three women. Apparently, when the officers arrived, two of the women were trying to give John O'Keefe CPR to no avail. The police found him cold to the touch and not breathing. Karen now was originally charged with manslaughter, that she'd hit him with the car and accident and killed him, maybe in an accident or in a drunken rage or something like that. Something which she might have actually believed at the time, but we'll get back to that.
Karen Reed pleaded not guilty on charges connected to his death. During a court appearance, prosecutors say the couple had been out drinking the night before, saying when Reed found her boyfriend in the snow the following day, she questioned whether she'd hit him with her car.
The charges were then upped 4 months later to the murder charges she faces today. She was arraigned, where she entered a plea of not guilty. Now, the most damning evidence for the prosecution is Karen's own words. That night, after she had dropped John off, she went home, hadn't heard from him, was going back. She was on the phone to Jennifer McCabe and she was saying something like, I could have hit him. Maybe I hit him. Karen claimed she was in shock at the time and she was just trying to work out what could have happened to John.
They used her own words, but if she was drinking, right? See, that's the piece that I'm like, who is it? Lana, they checked her blood level the next day when she was arrested. The next day, there was 3 different people that they could have checked their blood levels right then and there. It wasn't just Karen, they could have checked the other 2. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that's doing a thorough investigation would have done that. Somebody in the chat said, who was it? Let me see. Patricia says he died of hypothermia. It was leaving him there after hitting him that makes this a murder, says Patricia. But why didn't they? Lack of investigation. Maybe they were like, well, we know these people, they weren't drinking. Some of this just doesn't make sense to me. And this is the kind of ish that causes reasonable doubt, right?
Also, when she arrived back at the house, Karen was the first person to find his body, which, they say, oh, well, you must have already known where he was because nobody else could find him.
And that's kind of where I was like, well, she was the one that stated it. Like, yeah, Karen, you found the body.
She described the moment of finding him, that John's eyes were swollen shut and blood was coming out of his nose. Not only did she raise the question of hitting John with the car, but apparently when officers arrived, she repeatedly said to the paramedics at the scene, I hit him. I hit him. Once again, Karen's lawyers have said, that was just her trying to rationalize what could have actually happened to her boyfriend of 2 years, but it's not exactly a good look to admit at the scene of the crime. To the thing you're now accused of doing. The prosecution have also entered into evidence chunks of the taillight from Karen's SUV, which they say, broke when she hit John O'Keefe. Now, the defense, however, have asked for that evidence to examine it themselves, but they haven't gotten it.
So why haven't they gotten the evidence? That makes the other side look suspicious. It does. How are we expected to let this woman get a fair trial if they can't get a hold of that evidence? Excuse me. You think, Patricia, that's a lot of people were saying that too. Well, maybe not only was he hit by Karen, but he might have been hit by a snowplow. Could be. I don't know. I'm waiting for the trial to start to really, really understand everything. But why are they holding evidence?
It's another polarizing piece of evidence, with anyone in favor of the prosecution's argument saying it's evidence that Karen backed into John, right? It's an open and shut case. She was going to drop him off, drunk, fighting. She hit him. She drove off. Maybe she forgot. She went back looking for him. She found him. But the defense say it's kind of implausible that she could have actually hit him outside the house. Well, first of all, it was like a 3-point turn she was doing. The broken taillight on Karen's car was on the right side. But if she was doing a 3-point turn and she hit John, she should have broken the left.
Yes. This is why I love that chapter, because he's like breaking this complicated side a little bit more. And of course, we'll review more documents, in another different live. But I love the way he kind of breaks this down for me a little bit more,
Taillight. Second of all, the speed she would have had to have been going at to kill him wouldn't have been possible. Then there's those injuries again. Karen said John's eyes were swollen shut and his nose bloodied, which doesn't sound too much like someone who'd been backed into. In fact, in order to inflict those injuries, or even anything close, the car would have had to have been going quite fast, which doesn't make sense in the situation that it was in and the conditions and all that. There's also a whole bunch of conflicts of interest in this case. The officer who filed the initial charges against Karen Reed, an officer, a trooper Proctor, is the same. He's a close family friend of Ryan Albert and Jennifer McCabe's. He's also the one responsible for discovering Karen's SUV having a broken taillight and then having it towed away.
Why is there so many conflict of interest? Why is there so many conflict of interest and nobody's concerned about that?
So that begins the questions being raised as to what actually happened. First of all, the circumstances make it unclear how she could have killed him, even though that was her own first thought. And then secondly, the people investigating this case are close friends with the other people at the scene. So therefore, it would make sense to not draw the light on them. Because that's the other side of the argument. It's not hard to see why so many questions are being raised, and why so many people see the evidence and the prosecution's case as a whole as being somewhat tainted. The connections between pivotal figures in the case, it was dragged to the forefront by the defense recently when they asked the judge hearing the case to recuse herself, as they believed she had a close personal connection to someone involved in the case, something the judge flat out denied before dismissing the motion to have her removed from the case. Does kind of seem like everybody involved in this is in shenanigans with each other. They're all in cahoots.
Inside, prosecutor Adam Lally requested the defense team no longer speak to the media.
The hyperbole or the language that's been used on the steps of this courthouse in reference to the Commonwealth having its foot on the defendant.
Yes, I see reasonable doubt all over. Hey, Nanya, all over this case. Oh, I love that chapter. He's a great content creator. You guys should check him out. I think the alcohol is what is clouding the facts surrounding the actual events. I'm struggling so much because there is a lot of conflicts within these professionals, and we're expecting there to be a trial where things are like people are supposed to be professional, non-biased, without a reasonable doubt, conviction, 100%. How can you do that when you have so many conflict of interest? And it's so awesome that you do have people that call them out, right? They need to be called out. But to me, like I said, this is somebody's life. If she didn't kill this man, and this is a huge cover up, you have that. If she did kill this man, why is this a huge other, like there's so many moving pieces to this, right? I think the questionable evidence collection, the missing puzzle pieces, and the conflict of interest will absolutely make enough conflict of interest. I go back to they saw 3 people over this body. There's drinking. They saw a cocktail glass on the floor. They didn't think to alcohol check everybody. They didn't think to, well, where was this man going? Do we have another crime scene at the house? They didn't think to go beyond the road. And it's snowing. The level of security. It's a lot.
defendant's throat.
The defense lashing out at that.
How dare the prosecution try to prohibit defense counsel from doing our jobs? How dare they ask this court to take away our First Amendment right to free speech?
All this happened after defense attorneys had accused the judge of appearing biased against them, asking she remove herself from the case because of an internet post saying she allegedly knows potential prosecution witnesses, something she strongly denied.
And I want to make it very clear that I reject the notion that untrue and unsubstantiated rumors spread on the internet can force a judge to recuse herself from a case.
And that is why some are saying this is a giant cover-up and Karen Reid is being framed for the murder of her boyfriend, Officer John O'Keefe. Because on the surface, it's open and shut. She'd been drinking, she hit him, she made statements to back up that, end of story. But then you dig a little deeper under the surface and there's so much more going on here.
In that I agree. If you read this and you're just like, damn, you know, the first couple of paragraphs, paragraph 6, paragraph 5, 6, 7, she hit him. Is it possible, like somebody was saying in the comments, is it possible that she hit him and then a plow came over and maybe, you know, also hit him as well and didn't even see him because it was snowing a lot? Potentially. But that's how I saw this too. It was an accident. She said what she saw. Maybe she doesn't remember. Maybe she did remember. She was distraught. Maybe she thought she was dreaming. She was drinking, although she denies drinking. However, you're at a bar. What the fuck are you doing at a bar if you're not drinking? Counting corn nuts? I don't know. Do people? I don't know. Everybody was drinking. Everybody.
Let's get into that. The defense hired specialist Richard Green, who found that in the hours before John O'Keefe's body was found, at 2:27 a.m., someone used a phone belonging to Jennifer McCabe, sister-in-law of the owner of the house, Brian Albert, to search on Google, how long to die in the cold. Yikes. Yeah, that's not a good look. And according to Karen's lawyers, of course, has no innocent explanation, unless people at the party in the house knew John was missing or injured. Because remember, Karen says she saw him walk into the house. So what could have happened in the house?
Did she see him walking in the house? Did she walk in? Did she actually, with her eyes, did she see him walk away, open the door in the house, walking in the house? I mean, did she see that?
Where John O'Keefe would end up dead outside. Adding even more fuel to the cover-up fire is that the defense have a sworn affidavit from a forensic examiner stating that not only did the seriously suspicious Google search happen, but the same witness states that several phone calls between Jennifer McCabe's phone and a phone belonging to Brian Albert were deleted, along with a screenshot of Brian Albert's contact information. The defense seems to think that Jennifer McCabe, she played a pivotal role in the cover-up of whatever really happened. The defense is even accusing Jennifer McCabe of going into, when they were looking for John, when Karen Reid went back, that she was like delaying them from finding his body.
There's the
Sergeant
MMA
Albert
fighter.
cut his teeth as a Marine in Operation Desert Storm. He views his work back in Boston as equally important.
Karen's attorneys claimed that Brian Albert is a highly trained boxer and fighter, and has deep familial and personal ties to the Canton PD and the Massachusetts State Police. So the defense is clearly trying to, look at the people who were in the house that night.
Karen Reid herself doubling down, of course, saying she did not do this. She wants to know who did.
And honestly, if this is going to be a fair trial, they should have looked at everybody at the house. They should have done more. If this is going to be a fair trial, they should have looked everywhere. Not just one side. Seriously.
But it feels we're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
Just because you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
And no, she didn't do it. No, she didn't do it. This is an innocent woman. She didn't do it.
I tried to save his life.
Yeah.
I tried to save his life at 6 a.m. I was covered in his blood. I was the only one trying to save his life.
Why'd you admit to it?
She didn't admit to it. She didn't admit to anything close to that. Nothing close to that. And you should know that.
That was like 3 or 4 times she admitted to it.
No, she didn't.
That's not true.
She asked a question. Which is very different. She didn't admit to anything.
They have said several times that police never considered anyone else as suspects, including Brian Albert and Jennifer McCabe, despite them giving several incriminating statements. A witness in the area saw Karen and John in the car, but didn't hear any kind of crash, didn't hear a scream, didn't see any kind of damage to Karen's car as she drove off. And get this, John O'Keefe's Apple Health also recorded his movements that night. It showed him in the area of Brian Albert's home. It said he took multiple steps at elevation, the equivalent of
This Apple Watch thing is very crucial.
climbing 3 flights of stairs. There were 3 flights of stairs in the Albert home. And if he had been hit by Karen's car before he made it into the house, then he wouldn't have taken as many steps as it showed he did.
So he's wearing an Apple, what is it, an Apple Watch or whatever, you know those Fitbits? They track your steps. They track everywhere that you go. Yes, yes. If it was enough to track how many steps, the equivalent of what? Hold up, let me go back. Y'all listen.
Despite them giving several incriminating statements, a witness in the area saw Karen and John in the car, but didn't hear any kind of crash, didn't hear a scream, didn't see any kind of damage to Karen's car as she drove off. And get this, John O'Keefe's Apple Health also recorded his movements that night. It showed him in the area of Brian Albert's home. It said he took multiple steps at elevation, the equivalent of climbing 3 flights of stairs.
Unless his body was dragged somehow and his feet were moving to track 3 flights of stairs. There's 3 flights of stairs in that house, right?
There were 3 flights of stairs in the Albert home. And if he had been hit by Karen's car before he made it into the house, then he wouldn't have taken as many steps as it showed he did. The deleted phone calls,
So he made it inside the house. How do you dispute the Apple Health? How do you dispute that? To me, I was like, oh my God, okay.
Google searches. By the way, that was found by the defense, not the prosecution. Even though the prosecution had Jennifer McCabe's phone for a year, they just never examined it. Why would they? Sure, this is an open and shut case. Karen Reid clearly hit into him with the car. Wink. One more thing that's been brought up in the public kind of discussion about this case is the serious lack of CCTV evidence, which is something we've gotten used to in these kinds of cases with the rise of Ring doorbell footage and all that. Namely, one thing CCTV footage would clear up is whether or not Karen's taillight was broken before or after she went to Brian Halbert's house. If Karen's taillight could be proven to be broken at a time when she was not at the house, well, then she clearly didn't hit him. I mean, that's one of the key pieces of evidence is that her taillight is broken, so therefore she hit him. The defense are even claiming they've been denied footage from the library in town, which would give them an indication exactly of when her taillight was broken.
We're asking for evidence. Evidence that's material, evidence that's relevant, evidence that's salient to a third-party culpability defense.
Trooper Proctor may well be key to finding out exactly what did happen to John in the early hours of the 29th of January 2022. Another thing about the lack of CCTV footage is the house directly across from Brian Albert's. The Canton deputy police chief lives there. And he has a Ring doorbell camera. He says it captured nothing and the footage was never requested. So Karen's own Ring doorbell, however, might provide an answer as to how the taillight came to be broken if it wasn't from hitting John. Footage from the doorbell outside the couple's home clearly shows Karen accidentally backing into John's car on the way out to search for him. It was only hours later, after Trooper Proctor had impounded Karen's car, that pieces of taillight were supposedly found at the scene. The pieces of taillight which were found at the scene weren't discovered during the initial search. It was only like a search hours later that they were discovered by Trooper Proctor. And then there's the small matter of the disappearing dog. In particular, Brian Albert's German Shepherd, Chloe. At one hearing, Karen Reid's attorney showed the court images of marks on John O'Keefe's arm. The defense asserted that John was in a fight with someone in the house and claimed that these marks are evidence the victim was attacked by a dog during the fight.
Prosecutors say are from the accident, but the defense believes they're from a dog attack.
The Commonwealth has always maintained that it's road rash on his arm. No one has ever said that, but counsel for the defendant. As far as the injuries are concerned to Mr. O'Keefe's right arm and right forearm, they've always and consistently been described as abrasions caused by blunt force trauma.
They requested DNA from the dog, but the dog has been rehomed out of state.
Why can't they get DNA from this dog? And apparently they had this dog for like 7 years. Who rehomes a dog that is 7? I mean, typically it's one of those scenarios where, listen, I don't know, I have a dog and he's very, very old.
It's a dog. We have specific evidence. Talk about specificity. Specific evidence from one of the country's leading pathologists indicating that John O'Keefe's arm was mauled by a dog. Brian Albert's dog was a 90-pound German Shepherd. Oh, and by the way, Brian Albert made sure to get rid of that dog in the months following John O'Keefe's death. After that dog had literally been with the family for some 7 or 8 years.
They wanted more access to the house. Brian Albert sold a house. He sold a house for $50,000 less than asking in the middle of a housing crisis.
Coincidence? Who does that?
In Massachusetts. So not only was the house not really searched at the time, now it can't be searched.
Brian Albert is integrally involved in the death of John O'Keefe. He is implicated in the death of John O'Keefe. Jennifer McCabe is equally implicated in the death of John O'Keefe and the subsequent cover-up of that death.
So that is the two sides to the story. One, Karen Reid backed into John and killed him. Problems with that are she probably wouldn't have been going fast enough to kill him. Definitely wouldn't have been going fast enough to hit him so that he knocked into a snowbank. And it seems like her taillight would have already been broken, which is the key indication that she did hit him. Or the second side of the story is John did go into the house, Brian Albert's house, and maybe something happened in that house, which ended up with John O'Keefe's body being dumped outside. But the problem with that is if something did happen in the house, the idea was just to dump his body outside and get lucky with a cover-up. At her bail hearing,
Exactly. That's the other part to this too.
Karen Reid's lawyers asked the judge to lower bail to $5,000, citing a whole heap of health issues they say Karen has been suffering from. The various ailments include a brain tumor, multiple sclerosis, and colitis, which is like, you got fair play to you. The judge gave that an but Karen would be released anyway on the 2nd of February after posing $50,000 bail. This case is whack. Like I said, on the surface, it's just a simple whatever, but then you dive underneath and it seems like everybody is in cahoots. The defense says Brian Albert is a cop. Something happened inside that house and he's getting all the other cops to cover up for him as he has deep and familial ties with the state troopers and the local police departments. But then on the other hand, John O'Keefe himself was a cop. So what could have happened that would, what could have happened?
And that is where a lot of us are stuck, I think. And, I'm going to review other documents. I just wanted to review the PCA first with you guys and then show you a little bit of that chapter and their breakdown. I put the link in the chat so you guys can check them out. I mean, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Oh, and also don't forget, I think it went pretty fast, but there was the Google search that was done by Jennifer McCabe on how long does it take a body to die in the freezing cold. Yeah, that one. That was kind of weird too. But let me know your thoughts. If this is the first time you're hearing about this case and you're intrigued, let me know. I will see you guys on the next one because I got to go tend to baby bunny. But make sure you guys are hitting that like button. You guys have a great night. Rabbits out.